The night was warm, the air thick with the scent of jasmine from the garden outside. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the strap of my black lace dress. It clung to my body in all the right places, the fabric whispering against my skin as I moved. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, a mix of excitement and nervousness. Tonight was supposed to be special. Ethan and I had been planning our wedding for months, and everything was finally falling into place. Or so I thought. The door creaked open behind me, and I turned to see Lily standing there, her eyes dark and unreadable. She was dressed in a tight red dress that left little to the imagination, her hair cascading down her shoulders in loose waves. She looked stunning, but there was something off about her tonight. Something dangerous. "Going out?" she asked, her voice low and sultry. I nodded, trying to ignore the unease creeping up my spine. "Just meeting Ethan for dinner. We're finalizing some wedding details." Lily smirked, stepping closer. "Wedding details," she repeated, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "How romantic." I frowned, crossing my arms over my chest. "What's that supposed to mean?" She shrugged, her eyes never leaving mine. "Nothing. Just seems like a lot of effort for something that might not even happen." Her words sent a chill down my spine. "What are you talking about, Lily? Of course it's going to happen." She didn't respond, instead walking over to the dresser and picking up a bottle of perfume. She sprayed it on her neck, the scent heavy and intoxicating. "You know, Emma, you're not the only one who can have a little fun." I stared at her, confused. "What's gotten into you? You've been acting strange lately." She turned to face me, her expression unreadable. "Maybe I'm just tired of pretending. Tired of watching you and Ethan play the perfect couple while I'm stuck in the shadows." I took a step back, my heart racing. "Lily, what are you saying?" She laughed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Oh, Emma, you're so naive. You really think Ethan is the only one who's been keeping secrets?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" She didn't answer, instead grabbing her purse and heading for the door. "Have fun on your date, Emma. Don't wait up." And with that she was gone, leaving me standing there, my mind racing. What had she meant by that? What secrets was she talking about? I shook my head, trying to push the thoughts away. I had to focus on tonight, on Ethan, on our future together. But as I left the house and got into my car, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The night air felt heavy, oppressive, as if it was trying to warn me of what was to come. I drove to the restaurant, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. I needed to see Ethan, needed to feel his arms around me, to hear his voice telling me everything was going to be okay. When I arrived, he was already there, sitting at our usual table. He looked up as I approached, his face lighting up with a smile. "Emma," he said, standing to greet me. "You look beautiful." I forced a smile, trying to push aside the unease that had settled in my chest. "Thanks, Ethan. You're not so bad yourself." He laughed, pulling out my chair for me. "So, what's on the agenda tonight? Cake tasting?" "Venu tour." I sat down, taking a deep breath. "Actually, I was hoping we could just talk. There's something on my mind." His expression softened, and he reached across the table to take my hand. "Of course. What's going on?" I hesitated, not sure how to put my fears into words. "It's Lily. She's been acting strange. I don't know, it's like she's hiding something. And tonight, she said something that really worried me." Ethan frowned, his grip on my hand tightening. "What did she say?" I shook my head, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "She said she was tired of pretending, that she was tired of watching us play the perfect couple. And then she said something about secrets. Ethan, I'm scared. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like something's about to happen." He squeezed my hand, his eyes filled with concern. "Emma, listen to me. Whatever's going on with Lily, we'll figure it out together. You don't have to face this alone." I nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. "Thank you, Ethan. I don't know what I'd do without you." He smiled, leaning in to kiss me gently. "You'll never have to find out. I'm here for you, Emma. Always." But as we sat there, holding hands and talking about our future, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking in the shadows, waiting to tear us apart. And little did I know, the storm was already brewing. and it was about to hit us with full force. The evening continued, and Ethan and I tried to push aside the unsettling thoughts about Lily. We focused on the wedding plans, discussing the guest list, the flowers and the music. For a while it felt like everything was normal again. But deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Lily's words kept echoing in my mind, and I couldn't stop wondering what she had meant by secrets. After dinner, Ethan walked me to my car, his arm wrapped around my waist. "Try not to worry too much, Emma," he said, kissing my forehead. "We'll figure this out. Lily's probably just going through something. You know how she gets." I nodded, forcing a smile. "You're right. I'm probably overthinking it." He smiled back, his eyes warm and reassuring. "Get some rest, okay? I'll call you tomorrow." I got into my car and drove home, the streets quiet and empty. When I arrived, the house was dark, and there was no sign of Lily. I checked my phone, but there were no messages from her. I tried to push aside the worry and went upstairs to my room, changing into my pajamas and climbing into bed. But sleep didn't come easily. My mind was racing, and every creak of the house made me jump. Hours passed, and I was finally starting to drift off when I heard the front door open. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, and then I heard Lily's voice, low and muffled, followed by a man's deep laugh. My stomach churned. Who was she with? I crept out of bed and tiptoed to my door, opening it just a crack. The hallway was dimly lit, and I could see Lily leaning against the wall, her face flushed and her dress slightly disheveled. Standing next to her was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, with graying hair and a confident demeanor. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. "You're sure she's asleep?" the man asked, his voice smooth and commanding. Lily nodded, a sly smile on her lips. "She's out cold. Don't worry, we won't be disturbed." The man chuckled, running a hand through Lily's hair. "Good. I've been waiting for this for a long time." My breath caught in my throat. What the hell was going on? I watched as the man leaned in, kissing Lily deeply, his hands roaming over her body. She moaned softly, pressing herself against him. I felt sick to my stomach, but I couldn't look away. Who was this man and why was Lily with him? They broke apart, and the man whispered something in Lily's ear that made her laugh. Then they disappeared into her room, the door closing behind them. I stood there, frozen, my mind racing. What had I just witnessed? And why did that man look so familiar? I crept back to my bed, my heart pounding. I needed to know who he was. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through old photos, trying to find something that would jog my memory. And then it hit me, the man was in a picture I had seen years ago, in Lily's old photo album. It was her father. But that didn't make sense. Lily's father had died when she was a child. Or so I had always thought. I felt a wave of dizziness wash over me. If that man was really her father, then what the hell was going on? And why was he here now in our house with Lily? I needed answers, but I didn't know where to start. I thought about calling Ethan, but it was late, and I didn't want to wake him. Besides, how could I even begin to explain what I had just seen? I lay back down, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning. Sleep was impossible now. All I could think about was Lily and that man, and the secrets they were hiding. I had always trusted Lily, but now I wasn't sure of anything anymore. And the worst part was, I had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of voices downstairs. I got out of bed and peeked out the window, seeing Lily and the man standing in the driveway. They were talking quietly, their heads close together. Then the man kissed her forehead and got into a sleek black car, driving away. I quickly got dressed and went downstairs, my heart racing. Lily was in the kitchen, pouring herself a cup of coffee. She looked up when I walked in, her expression calm and unreadable. "Morning," she said, her voice casual, as if nothing had happened. "Who was that?" asked, unable to hide the accusation in my tone. Lily raised an eyebrow, sipping her coffee. "Who was who?" "The man who was here last night," I said, my voice trembling. "I saw you with him, Lily." "Who is he?" She hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. "Just a friend." "Why are you so worked up about it?" "Because he looked like your father," I blurted out, unable to hold back anymore. Lily froze, her eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about?" "I saw a picture of him in your old photo album," I said, my voice rising. He's your father, isn't he? But you told me he died when you were a kid. What's going on, Lily? Why is he here? She set her coffee cup down, her expression darkening. You shouldn't have been snooping, Emma. Some things are better left alone. Not when they involve my life. I shouted, my frustration boiling over. You've been acting strange for weeks, and now this? What are you hiding, Lily? And why is he back? She took a step closer to me, her eyes cold and hard. You really want to know? Fine. He's my father. He didn't die. He left. And now he's back. And he's going to help me get what I want. What do you mean? What you want? I asked, my voice shaking. She smirked, a cruel glint in her eyes. You'll find out soon enough, Emma. But trust me, you're not going to like it. And with that, she turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there, my mind reeling. I didn't know what was happening. But one thing was clear. Whatever Lily was planning, it was going to change everything. And I had no idea how to stop it. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I tried to go about my usual routine, but my mind kept drifting back to the conversation with Lily. Her words haunted me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. I needed to talk to Ethan, but I wasn't sure how to explain everything without sounding like I was losing my mind. That evening I called him, my hands trembling as I held the phone. Ethan, we need to talk, I said as soon as he answered. What's wrong? He asked, his voice filled with concern. It's Lily, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. Something's going on with her. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm scared. I'll be right over, he said without hesitation. When he arrived, I told him everything, what I had seen the night before. The man who looked like Lily's father, and the cryptic things she had said. Ethan listened quietly, his expression growing more serious with each word. This doesn't make any sense, he said when I finished. If that man is really her father, why would she lie about him being dead? And what does she mean by getting what she wants? I don't know, I said, tears welling up in my eyes. But I'm scared, Ethan. I feel like something's about to happen, and I don't know how to stop it. He pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. We'll figure this out together, Emma. Promise. We'll get to the bottom of this. We spent the next few hours trying to piece together what little information we had. Ethan suggested we confront Lily, but I wasn't sure if that was the best idea. She had been so secretive lately, and I didn't know how she would react. In the end, we decided to wait and see if she would reveal anything on her own. But as the days passed, Lily's behavior only grew more erratic. She started coming home late at night, her clothes disheveled, and her breath smelling of alcohol. She would disappear for hours at a time, and when I asked where she had been, she would just shrug and say, out. One night, I was lying in bed unable to sleep when I heard the front door open. I got up and peeked out the window, seeing Lily stumble out of a car. The man, her father, was with her again. They were laughing, their voices carrying through the quiet night. I watched as he kissed her deeply, his hands roaming over her body. My stomach churned, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone and called Ethan, my hands shaking. He's here again, I whispered. The man. He's with Lily. I'm on my way, Ethan said, his voice firm. I waited in the darkness, my heart pounding. When Ethan arrived, we crept downstairs, trying to be as quiet as possible. We could hear voices coming from Lily's room, low and intimate. My stomach twisted as we approached the door. Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with determination. We need to know what's going on, he whispered. I nodded, my throat tight. He reached for the doorknob and turned it slowly, pushing the door open just enough for us to see inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. Lily and the man were on the bed, their bodies entwined. The sheets were tangled around them, and the room was filled with the sounds of their passion. I felt like I was going to be sick. This wasn't just a father and daughter reuniting. This was something else entirely. Ethan grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the door. We retreated to the living room, both of us in shock. What the hell is going on? Ethan whispered, his face pale. I don't know, I said, tears streaming down my face. I don't know, Ethan. This is insane. We sat there in silence, trying to process what we had just witnessed. I felt like my world was falling apart. Lily had always been my best friend, my confidant. But now, I didn't even recognize her. The next morning, I confronted Lily. She was in the kitchen, sipping coffee as if nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway, my arms crossed, my heart pounding. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. She looked up, her expression calm. "About what?" "About what's going on with you," I said, my voice rising. "About that man. About last night." She set her coffee cup down, her eyes narrowing. "You were spying on me?" "I wasn't spying," I said, my voice shaking. "I heard you come in and I saw what you were doing. Lily, that man is supposed to be your father. What the hell is going on?" She leaned back in her chair, a cold smile on her lips. "You really want to know, Emma? Fine. He's not just my father. He's my lover." I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. "What are you talking about? That's sick." She laughed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Sick? Maybe. But it's the truth. He left when I was a kid, but he came back. And now he's mine." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "Why are you doing this, Lily? What do you want?" Her smile faded, replaced by a look of cold determination. "What do I want? I want Ethan. And I'm going to take him from you." I felt like the room was spinning. Lily's words hit me like a punch to the gut. And I stumbled back, my mind struggling to process what she had just said. Ethan? She wanted Ethan? My Ethan? The man I was about to marry? My hands trembled, and I clutched the edge of the counter to steady myself. What are you talking about?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Lily leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine, cold and calculating. "You heard me, Emma. I've always wanted him. From the moment I first saw him, I knew he was mine. But you got in the way. So I've been waiting, planning, and now it's time." I shook my head, my heart pounding in my chest. "No, this is insane. Ethan loves me. He's marrying me. You can't just take him." She smirked, a cruel, twisted smile that sent chills down my spine. "Oh, Emma, you're so naive. Love is just a game, and I've been playing it for a long time. You think Ethan is loyal to you? You think he wouldn't fall for me if I gave him the chance? You're wrong." I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You're delusional, Lily. Ethan would never betray me. He's not like that." She laughed, a low mocking sound. "We'll see about that. But just so you know, I'm not playing fair. My father, or should I say my lover, has connections, resources, and he's going to help me get what I want. By the time I'm done, Ethan won't even remember your name." I felt a surge of anger, and I stepped forward, my hands clenched into fists. "You're sick. Lily, you need help. This isn't normal. You can't just manipulate people like this." She stood up, her eyes blazing with a dangerous intensity. "Watch me." I turned and ran out of the kitchen, my mind racing. I needed to talk to Ethan. I needed to warn him. But as I reached for my phone, I realized I didn't even know what to say. How could I explain this? How could I make him believe me? Before I could dial his number, the front door opened, and Ethan walked in. His face was pale, and he looked like he had just seen a ghost. "Emma," he said, his voice shaky. "We need to talk." I felt a knot form in my stomach. "What's wrong?" He hesitated, then handed me a piece of paper. I unfolded it, my hands trembling, and my heart sank as I read the words. "Dear Ethan, I know we've only just met, but I feel like we have a connection. I can't stop thinking about you. I know you're with Emma, but I can't help how I feel. I hope you'll give me a chance. Love, Lily." I looked up at Ethan, my eyes wide with shock. "Well, what is this?" He ran a hand through his hair, his expression pained. "I found it in my car this morning. I don't know how it got there. I didn't even know Lily felt this way. I don't know what to do, Emma." I felt a wave of panic wash over me. Lily was already making her move, and I didn't know how to stop her. "Ethan, you have to believe me. Lily, she's not who you think she is. She's dangerous. She's been planning this. She's trying to tear us apart." He looked at me, his eyes filled with confusion. "Emma, I don't understand. Lily's your best friend. Why would she do something like this?" Because she's obsessed with you, I said, my voice breaking. She's been manipulating us. She's been lying to me. To both of us. You have to trust me, Ethan. We can't let her win. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay, I believe you. But what do we do? How do we stop her? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. We need to confront her. Together. We need to make her see that this is wrong. That she can't just take what she wants. Ethan nodded, his expression determined. Let's do it. We found Lily in the living room, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine in her hand. She looked up as we walked in, her expression calm and unreadable. Ah, the happy couple, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. What can I do for you? Ethan stepped forward, his voice firm. Lily, we need to talk. About this. He held up the note, and her eyes flicked to it. A small smile playing on her lips. Oh, that. I was wondering when you'd find it. What the hell is wrong with you, Lily? Ethan demanded, his voice rising. You're supposed to be Emma's best friend. How could you do this? She set her glass down, her eyes narrowing. Because I'm tired of pretending. Tired of watching you two play the perfect couple while I'm stuck in the shadows. I deserve to be happy too, Ethan. And I'm not going to let Emma stand in my way. I stepped forward, my hands clenched into fists. You're not going to win, Lily. Ethan loves me. He's marrying me. You can't just take him. She stood up and walked out of the room, leaving us standing there, both of us in shock. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. Lily wasn't going to stop. She was going to do whatever it took to get what she wanted. Ethan pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. We'll get through this, Emma. Together. I promise. I nodded, but deep down, I wasn't sure. Lily was dangerous, and she wasn't going to give up easily. I just hoped we could stop her before it was too late. The days that followed were a whirlwind of tension and uncertainty. Lily's presence loomed over us like a dark cloud, her threats and manipulation casting a shadow over everything. Ethan and I tried to stay strong, but it was hard to ignore the growing sense of dread that hung in the air. We knew we had to do something, but we weren't sure what. One evening, as we sat in the living room, trying to come up with a plan, there was a knock at the door. I exchanged a worried glance with Ethan before getting up to answer it. Standing on the doorstep was a man I didn't recognize, tall, with sharp features and a cold, calculating gaze. He looked familiar, and it took me a moment to realize why. It was the man I had seen with Lily, her father or whatever he was to her. Can I help you? I asked, my voice trembling. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm here to talk to Ethan. Is he home? I hesitated, then stepped aside, letting him in. Ethan stood up as the man entered the room, his expression a mix of confusion and suspicion. Who are you? Ethan asked, his voice firm. The man extended his hand, his smile never wavering. My name is Victor. I'm Lily's father. Ethan shook his hand reluctantly, his eyes narrowing. What do you want? Victor's smile faded, replaced by a look of cold determination. I'm here to make you an offer. One that I think you'll find interesting. I felt a knot form in my stomach. What kind of offer? Victor turned to me, his gaze piercing. It's simple, really. Leave Emma. Be with Lily. And in return, I'll make sure you have everything you've ever wanted. Money, power, success. All of it. Ethan's eyes widened in shock. Are you serious? You think I would just leave Emma for Lily? That's insane. Victor shrugged, his expression calm. Is it? Think about it, Ethan. You could have it all. All you have to do is walk away from her. I felt a surge of anger, and I stepped forward, my hands clenched into fists. Get out of our house. Now. Victor turned to me, his smile returning. You're making a mistake, Emma. You're standing in the way of something much bigger than yourself. But don't worry. You'll see the truth soon enough. And with that, he turned and walked out the door, leaving us standing there in stunned silence. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, and Ethan pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. I'm not going anywhere, Emma, he whispered. I love you. Nothing he says is going to change that. I nodded, but deep down I wasn't sure. Victor's words had shaken me to my core. I didn't know what he was capable of, but I knew he wasn't going to stop until he got what he wanted. The next few days were a blur of fear and uncertainty. Lily continued to manipulate and threaten us, and Victor's presence loomed over us like a dark shadow. We tried to stay strong, but it was hard to ignore the growing sense of dread that hung in the air. One night, as we sat in the living room, trying to come up with a plan, there was a loud crash from outside. We both jumped, our hearts pounding. Ethan grabbed a baseball bat from the corner of the room and cautiously approached the door. I followed close behind, my hands trembling. When we opened the door, we found Lily standing there, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. She was holding a bloody knife in her hand, and there was a look of desperation in her eyes. "Lily," I asked, my voice shaking. "What's going on?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I swear." Ethan stepped forward, his voice firm. "What happened, Lily? What did you do?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Victor, he tried to make me do something. Something terrible. I couldn't let him." I felt a surge of panic. "Where is he, Lily? Where's Victor?" She pointed to the driveway, her hand trembling. He's there." We rushed outside, and what we saw made my blood run cold. Victor was lying on the ground, his body limp and lifeless. There was a pool of blood spreading beneath him, and his eyes were wide with shock. Ethan knelt down, checking for a pulse, but it was clear that Victor was gone. He looked up at Lily, his expression a mix of horror and disbelief. "What did you do, Lily?" She shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to. I couldn't let him hurt you. Either of you." I felt tears streaming down my face as I pulled Lily into my arms, holding her tightly. She was shaking, her body racked with sobs. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to process what had just happened. Ethan called the police, and when they arrived, we told them everything. Lily was taken into custody, and we were left to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. In the weeks that followed, we tried to move on, but it was hard to ignore the scars that Victor and Lily had left behind. We knew we would never be the same, but we also knew we had each other. And in the end, that was all that mattered. As we stood together, watching the sun set over the horizon, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We had been through hell, but we had come out the other side. And as long as we had each other, I knew we could face whatever came next.